Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
Good morning and welcome to the Mac and Jack Show. I'm Sonia filling in for your host, Mac, and this is Jack. Good morning, Jack. How are you today? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Sonia. Thank you for welcoming me to my own show, but I appreciate it. You know, that's nice of you, but I accept the invite gladly. Thank you.
I bet Jack never welcomes you into your own show. Good morning, everybody.
No.
I'm sitting in for the great host, Mac, over at Roku Sports. You all make sure you download the Roku app so that you too can be in the know about sports 24/7. We are a little over 12,615 likes on the Roku channel. We only are trying to meet that halfway goal right now of 15,000. It's because of you that we are so close. We want to make sure we always invite you all to continue to share, like, follow, and subscribe on all of our socials and YouTube as well. And Mac, we wish you all the best of rest as you continue to recuperate so that you can join us soon. And hello to Linda. Jack, it's March Madness. I mean, and the madness continues. We know we have our guest that comes on from time to time, Keith Angle, that is an expert guru in college basketball. But I have on my Duke shirt today, Duke at heart, and we are still trudging along. But unfortunately, we want to kind of plug in real quick in the women's basketball. Unfortunately, Juju Watkins went down with an ACL tear. Juju had been holding her wrist the last few days. And unfortunately, within 5 minutes of her the first part of the game going into against Mississippi, she actually tore her ACL. So she's out for the season and maybe partially next season as well, because it's a 9 to 12 month recovery. She should have gone through surgery no later than today.
I mean, that's the nature of sports. I mean, you could be riding high in just one injury. And to us, we just hear the term, well, an ACL injury, but all the rehabilitation that has to be done to come back. And even if you come back and you're 100% healthy, there's that mental hurdle that you're going to have as far as cutting, making a quick all-out move. you always seem to be holding something just a little bit back. And, it's just the nature of sports. And you don't hear as many of these injuries with the ACL with the women as opposed to the men, that you get those type of injuries. But, in a way, it's an injustice to the women to hold their tournament the same time that the men are holding theirs, basically. I know they try to get the women's games in on the off days when the men aren't playing, but somehow it seems that, take any chance away of them having this, truly having the spotlight.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Jack. But however, last year when we had the whole Caitlin Clark movement, that's following up to the Aaliyah Boston time with South Carolina State and Dawn Staley. We've seen a trajectory of moving, more viewership, more people in the stands, more viewership on television. And you're right, maybe, they are kind of pitting them one against another as far as the timing of the schedules. But it's March Madness, and I think it kind of assumes the responsibility of everybody kind of just being thrown in the hat at this point. Of course, even with that injury, USC still getting it done over Mississippi State, 96-59 for the final. UConn still hanging in there, the defending champs as well, the Husky ladies over South Dakota State, 91-57. Now we're going into the real crux of the tournament now. These other teams that have kind of come in, now we're kind of going into the Sweet 16, and then from there going on. Right now, this is kind of still the elimination phase, right, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, it starts off at the 64th. I mean, so many teams fall by the wayside so quickly. The field is cut in half nearly, immediately. And then you get in your Sweet 16 and your serious teams. But I think it's pretty exciting when the selection committee makes their choices for certain schools. There's schools who either have to win it all or it's a disappointment, or at least be in the Final Four at the very least. Then there are the schools who are just happy to be there. And amongst the schools who are happy to be there, there's always a Cinderella team in the sense, I don't mean going all the way and necessarily making the Final Four, but who makes an unexpected run. They score an upset, and maybe win a game after that, and they create a little bit of a buzz, which might be an aberration as far as the school's program goes in the long run. But it's fun, and I think the public looks for a no-name team to come out of nowhere, and then they kind of latch on to that team. But when you think of women's basketball, if you think of a program that automatically comes to mind, it's a traditional powerhouses like a UConn.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I definitely agree with that. And of course, South Carolina State with Coach Dawn Staley, who was Coach of the Year and all the accolades she's racked up. They are on the same path as this year. Another team, however, that's still in there, even though their men are not, which is an anomaly because normally it's the opposite, is the University of North Carolina. The ladies' women's basketball team is still in the tournament, and they have defeated West Virginia 58-47. So even though for the first time in a long time, the University of North Carolina Tar Heels men have been eliminated for a couple of weeks now, a little over a week, I should say, University of North Carolina women's team is still trudging on.
Well, the men was something like an 11th seed, and Hubert Davis, the coach of the North Carolina men's team, was getting, a lot of negative feedback coming towards him, even though he signed the extension. And I guess, at Chapel Hill, they're turning their focus to the women, which is highly unusual because, as you said, the men always make a deeper run, and the women haven't had a chance to really have the spotlight. And now that's going to be the case at least for a little while longer. Let's see how far the women can go. Wouldn't that be a great story?
It would be
to win the national championship.
It would definitely be a great story. And it's just one of those things that you're like, wow. And good morning, Linda. Linda says, hi, guys. Mac is with me. And good morning to you, David Guyette. Good morning to you.
Mac would be proud of you because he loves to start off this show talking about Title IX. Okay, that was. I like to give Mac a dig all the time. I always like to have fun with him.
Yes, and I made a little small typo there. It's National Streaming Sports, guys. Thank you so much for that, Miss Linda. I don't know why I always have that kind of backwards. We had a different name at some point, so it's right here on the backdrop. And for some reason, I guess I thought that one of them was still under the old name. So I'm gonna fix that real quick. Make sure you guys know it's National Streaming Sports. National Streaming Sports. Um, but yeah, so I'm glad that Mac, would approve of that. Moving on over to the men. This is where everybody's been following the most. I'm gonna be honest, I don't watch every single game. Kind of like what you said, Jack. I wait, right now we're just getting through the elimination phase. A lot of these teams, God bless them. I'm glad they're there, but they are not the ones that we are, really waiting to see, because anybody can be eliminated, or anybody can eliminate a team that is projected to be the best. One important game that's coming up tomorrow night at 7:30 is the Maryland versus Florida game. Maryland number 4, Florida the number 1 seed, and in some people's projections are predicted to win it all. What are your thoughts on that, Jack?
Florida's looking good now, and if you have to have one particular favorite, I think they would be it. But like you say, anything could happen in one particular game. Look at Maryland. I mean, beating Colorado at the buzzer the way they did. I mean, what a thrilling game. Colorado hits a three-pointer. Now that 3.6 seconds left in the game, and Maryland is taking the ball out of bounds, down 1, and they pull the game out. I mean, imagine if you're Colorado. I mean, you're like what, like a 12 seed?
Right.
Pull off the upset. And we were just talking a moment ago about Cinderella teams. Colorado would have been entering that territory, getting to the Sweet 16, how far they could go. Yet, Maryland snatches the game away from them at the end. But, but Florida right now would seem to have that little bit of favoritism there, even though Maryland's coming off, major high. And then they're the dark horses, which I don't think are going to go anywhere, who are not traditional powerhouses in the slide. It's like Ole Miss, who continues to advance. I mean, I don't expect anything out of them, but sometimes the team does go on a run and they carry it out, to the Final Four and get into the championship game. We've seen it happen numerous times over the years.
Yes, and another team, I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty sure I did not have this team. Did you do a bracket, Jack? Did you do a bracket?
No, I never do a bracket because I don't have a prayer of it succeeding. Okay? I mean, it is the hardest thing. What happened, what was it, Gates, who offered like $1 billion to someone if they could pick every game in the NCAA tournament correctly? I mean, that's like offering $1 billion to someone who's going to flip a coin 50 times in a row, and it either has to come up heads or tails. And I'm talking about legitimately flipping.
Yeah.
I mean, it's virtually impossible. I mean, I understand there's luck. There's people who win the lotto when they have a 1 chance out of 500 million. I get all that. But the brackets always get busted immediately for everybody, despite what they say. If anyone tells you, their bracket's coming along smoothly, they're lying to you, Sonia.
Oh my gosh, Jack, that's so funny because we have Mike Tipton that comes on sometimes from the Tipping Point, and he's in a bracket. I'm in a bracket. Bistrilla, they're all in brackets, and so I'm in a bracket, of course, as well. I had kind of handwritten mine down first. A couple of years ago, I had picked Duke to win it all, and Duke got eliminated like the second round, and I was done. Because if you pick the winner and your winner overall gets eliminated, like the first round, your entire bracket is done.
Yeah.
But Mike Tipton sent me a screenshot that his bracket is 99% correct. Like it's automatically graded by, I think it's ESPN or NCAA. But I was like, I just gave him the whatever, because I was like, whatever. Like, how are you this lucky?
Yeah, I don't really want to comment on that. I mean, it's if he says so, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I'm not touching that.
yeah, so a lot of NCAA, continuing on, and of course, a lot of big games coming up. New Mexico has been eliminated by Michigan State. People have predicted them to do really well. Ole Miss beating Iowa State, and the
That's a
list
little
goes
bit of a
on.
surprise to me.
Yeah, no surprise at all. Maryland, like you said, barely winning on the buzzer. What a heartbreaker for Colorado State. Kentucky Wildcats still getting it done. I still got them in there. Of course, Alabama, the number 2 seed over St. Mary's, CA. They got it done. And Florida barely beat UConn. Now by 2 points. And those are the defending champs. I thought that game was going to be really good, and it came down to the wire. 77-75 was the final. Florida, the number 1 seed, UConn, the number
Well,
8 seed, even though they're defending champs.
Dan Hurley, I'll tell you, the way he's storming off the court, cursing, saying the way he was hard done, screwed by the
Yes.
refs. I mean, I don't find that too endearing. I really don't. And you see that happen so frequently. Coaches are going off the court and they're thinking they're getting a raw deal from the refs. Why would the refs want to give UConn a raw deal? I mean, he made it seem like it was like intentional on the ref's part, even though he didn't say it straight out. He feels they just called a terrible game. I mean, but his former conduct and the things he was saying, and reportedly the person who took the videotape of that was threatened by UConn staffers, which I
Yes.
find highly disturbing.
Yes.
Highly disturbing. Okay.
I mean, I believe in passionate coaching, but I have no words. I mean, the only thing I could think was just some type of mental or psychotic break, because when you are that angry and that animated and that emotional, and it spills over where it infringes upon other people's comfort levels, then that's a problem, especially when you're in such a position. You have to contain yourself in a more, like, you're making all this money, you are the face of this team, you are an example to these young men. Hold yourself to a higher standard. And I'm disappointed. I'm a huge Bobby Hurley fan, his brother, from when he was at Duke and when he played with the Kings before he tragically suffered from that car accident and his career ended. But, I just was shocked. I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean Dan Hurley's not a very nice man, not a kind man. It doesn't mean he doesn't care about the players.
Right.
But just these type of outbursts at the end, you want your players to take accountability. And by him going in the dressing room, basically saying, well, we lost because of the officials, making it out to be that.
Yeah, he sounded like the NFL.
It sounded, he didn't say that straight out, but basically his conduct certainly inferred that. It's not a learning experience for his players to take accountability the way they played, what they did on the court, the way he coached. And he is a great coach. Don't misunderstand me. If I had a son, I wouldn't hesitate to send him to play, for Dan Hurley there. But he's better than that, and maybe he realizes, maybe, he doesn't realize that. But, remember years ago, I don't know whether you remember this, when John Chaney had the outburst, but he had it towards John Calipari.
Yes.
Like that. He apologized after, Chaney, because his own family told him how disappointed they were in him and how unacceptable it was. And he realized that afterwards he shouldn't have acted that way. But somehow, if you were a coach, you can't lose it like that, because everyone is looking towards you for leadership. And then I don't know whether you saw it, went online. One coach pulled a girl's hair,
I saw that.
So now, listen, he got fired. He should get fired.
So they fired him. I didn't even follow back up with it.
Yeah, I mean, he had you're a coach, and especially an older guy, an old-fashioned coach when they would grab in football a player by the, the chin strap of the helmet
Wow.
and pull
Yeah.
him close and tell him, what to do. But, certain things kind of cross a line you can't do.
You can't do
I mean,
that with
yeah.
girls anyway. I mean, her hair was hanging, and I think that was high school, right? Wasn't it high school?
Yeah, you just can't, but he seemed to be a much older guy who was from another era when during the era when you could give spankings and take out the belt and,
Oh
the
yeah.
strap for discipline, which wasn't only acceptable at the time, that if you didn't do it, you were considered weak as an authority figure. Think of that, right?
Yeah, I actually am part of the era that I remember paddlings in school, and when they stopped them, I literally remember them
Yeah.
at my school sending letters out, basically uh, taking a vote. I think it was that they were not going to have what was called corporal punishment anymore, and that was around like third grade. So the let's see, mid '80s, I should say. That's when that time was.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's, I don't know, but yeah, he got fired. Like we said, lots of March Madness continues to march on. Let's change paths. Jack, the big news, my favorite topic, the NFL. Miss Liz already alluded to it. I had to wait to do a natural
I'll tell you, Sonia, that's what I
transition.
thought you were going to start off with. I mean, you're partial to women's sports. You started off with the NCAA women's tournament, which I respect, which
Yes.
we should talk about. But that wasn't the big news to get up to this morning. Come on, now you're getting on the big news.
I know. I had to build, I had to get everybody woke up first.
Exactly. Linda's with it here, Sonia.
sure their
Linda has
audience-
the right idea. This is what we should have started off with. I mean,
Oh my gosh. You know why I didn't start with it though, Jack. Now, had it been the Panthers, I would have been like, Jack, you're not gonna believe the Panthers have. Yeah, so thanks, Jack. You already know the big news out of the NFL. Russell Wilson has signed a 1-year contract with the New York Giants for $21 million. That was a shock. They just got Jameis Winston like a couple of days before.
it wasn't a shock. What kind of shock? Did you really think Jameis Winston was going to be their quarterback?
No, I didn't.
You know it'll be a shock if these so-called experts who are talking about the mock draft, even now after the Giants got Russell Wilson, what'll be a shock to me is if Shedeur Sanders is that number 3 for the Giants and the Giants draft him. By the Giants getting Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston as the backup, they are not drafting Shedeur Sanders, who's probably going to be available to them because Cleveland is going second in the draft. Now,
Yep.
Cleveland possibly will draft Shedeur Sanders, but I get the feeling they're a little turned off, by the interviews with Shedeur Sanders. He's been less than enthusiastic because Shedeur Sanders has wanted to go to the Giants, okay? But he doesn't fit into the Giant culture. And if the Giants draft Shedeur Sanders now, just think of it. He's not going to start for them. Russell Wilson is starting for them. And Russell Wilson is going to be given a full opportunity to see what he could do for the job. Joe Shine, the Giant GM, and Brian DeBal, the coach, are on the clock themselves.
Yes.
They were given one more year to straighten the ship out. The one that Joe Shine has miserably messed up. Miserably, okay? So Russell Wilson is starting. And drafting Shedeur Sanders is not going to help short term. They are going to draft Travis Hunter if he's available. If he's not, then Abdul Carter, which of the two, because Cam Ward's going first to Tennessee. Then Cleveland will make their move. And as I said, possibly draft Shedeur Sanders. But I get a feeling that they're not, that they're going to either draft, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and I think it'll be Abdul Carter who's Cleveland's going to draft, and the Giants aren't going to turn down Travis Hunter.
You know what, Jack? I wish you were part. You know what? I'm going to make sure. I wish J Train was watching this right now, and I wish that Fern from Friday Night with the Fellas.
Best for J Train. I hope he's feeling much better. I
J
should have
Train
reached
will be
out.
with us. Yes, he will be with us tonight. He said he's back and ready to go, so we're so glad about that. I wish he was watching right now, Jack. I had a very heated debate with him, and I mean heated for real, with him, B Strip, like all the guys that I'm in the group chat with, the separate one from Friday with the Fellas. Everybody except for B Striller, which is Brian from Detroit, argued me down that there was no way that the Giants weren't going to draft Shador, that, you know, Jameis was just there. And I'm like, if the Giants were not going to draft Shador, then why did they even bring Jameis in? The logical thing would be go ahead and sign Russell Wilson as your starter and then draft Shador. You do not draft Jameis and bring in Shador as well.
Well, they traded for Jameis.
I know.
They're flat out. All the guys are flat out wrong. Anything is possible, but they're flat. I don't want to say that they don't know what they're talking about, but they don't know what they're talking about.
It was so bad.
The Giants did not bring in Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston to add Shador Sanders to the team. They're not making Jameis Winston the number 3 quarterback.
Absolutely.
They got Jameis Winston. Had they not been able to sign Russell Wilson, yeah, it's possible, absolutely, that they might draft Shador Sanders. He doesn't quite fit into their culture anyway, the Giant culture. But they have Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, so they're very comfortable in their quarterback position, and they have to upgrade elsewhere. Shador Sanders is, in all probability, going to fall to number 9 to the New Orleans Saints. Shador Sanders, I'm telling you that now. The Raiders aren't going to take him. It's, certainly at number 4, New England's not taking him with Drake May. Jacksonville's not taking him at number 5 with Trevor Lawrence. The Raiders just got Geno Smith, so they're not taking him at 6. The Jets got Justin Fields. They're not taking Shador Sanders at 7. The Panthers have Bryce Young. They're not taking him at 8. He's there for the Saints. He's a perfect fit for the Saints. You don't put a quarterback on the clock unless you're sure you want to move on from him. The Jets, for example, they didn't get Justin Fields as strictly an experiment. They're hoping he could develop into their starter of the future. Hoping. They're not sure. Mm-hmm. He's on trial this year. But imagine the Jets draft Shador Sanders. He's not going to start. Justin Fields is going to start. And if Justin Fields plays really well, what the heck are you doing with Shador Sanders?
Yeah.
Or Justin Fields. It just doesn't make sense. And all the guys in the group chat with Sonia at number 3. I mean, the Giants drafting Shador Sanders. Do they really think the Giants are going to want that crowded quarterback room of Wilson, Winston, and Sanders, and leave a great young player on the board who they could take, like an Abdul Carter, a ferocious pass rusher who they could absolutely, who would impact their defense, or Travis Hunter, great cornerback / receiver. Come on. These guys don't know what they're talking about. We're in the group chat with.
Thank you, Jack.
And you'll see that when the draft comes on April 24th. They're going to say, oh, the Giants are taking Shador Sanders.
Exactly.
Then when they don't, they're going to act all shocked and surprised.
Let me tell you, Jack, I'm going to go back and save this clip. Good morning to Bo and to Joel as well. Joel or Joel, however you pronounce it. And he wants to let Mac know that his family and he are in his prayers as well. Thank you so much, Bo, for tuning in. Let me just also, Bo got another comment. I'm going to bring it up in a second. Jack, let's not forget, they still got DeVito. So what do you do with DeVito? Put him on the
get rid of him. DeVito's nothing. What are you talking about,
but I'm saying
Sonia?
That's 4 quarterbacks. They don't need nobody else. What are you
talking about? Tommy DeVito, Tommy DeVito's ceiling is this. At best, going forward, and his potential where it is is as a third string quarterback. That's where his potential is. You like a guy like him on the practice squad or maybe on the roster as a third stringer, because if nothing else, he knows the offense. He's been with the Giants. You could put him in an emergency. He's had a little bit success, but we've seen enough of him to know overwhelmingly he's not a starting NFL caliber quarterback. Don't even seriously consider that. He's going to be, Tommy DeVito is going to be one of three things this year. Third string quarterback for the Giants behind Wilson and Winston, or he's going to be on the practice squad, or the Giants are going to release him. He's not going to be the second string quarterback unless someone goes down with an injury. And even then, once DeVito becomes the second string quarterback, the Giants would be looking around the league for help to see who's available, who they can snatch. They would sooner pluck a Carson Wentz, who hasn't signed with anyone to my knowledge, than to go with DeVito. So what are you talking about? What are you going to do with DeVito?
I'm telling you that there's no way. I'm literally texting them in the group right now because I want to make sure they are watching this. This is sickening. And Bo tried to throw a shot at you, Jack.
He can. The
Jets haven't exactly been amazing at cultivating talent at the quarterback position. We're talking about the Giants, though, Bo. We're gonna stay.
Yeah, I don't know why everyone detours to the Jets here. I mean, it's got nothing to do with the Jets. I mean, but if we want to talk about the Jets, there's a new regime here with, new coach, new GM. Mm-hmm. Let's see how Aaron Glenn meshes with Justin Fields. And you're right. Listen, the Jets got Aaron Rodgers. It didn't work out. He got injured the first year, but the chemistry didn't work out. But no one was complaining at the time, saying it was a bad move by the Jets when they got him. And the Jets haven't had great quarterbacks, over the years. They've had, the Vinny Testaverdes and Jack Penningtons, decent quarterbacks, good guys, but it hasn't quite worked out. But listen, I could point to other great franchises. How many outstanding quarterbacks have they had? Look at the Chicago Bears, for example. How many, good quarterbacks have they had over the years? They got a good young one now who I think is going to develop, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, they are. And both said we were talking about Fields when he posted it. I guess we plugged in Fields for a quick second.
Yeah, listen, I don't know how. I'm not the biggest Justin Fields fan. I'm going to be honest about it. I kind of would have liked the Jets. If Shedeur Sanders was available for the Jets to draft, I would draft him and he would be my quarterback instead of Justin Fields. That's the way I feel. But there's no guarantee that he's going to be there, Shedeur Sanders at number 7. So if the Jets didn't go out and get Justin Fields and Shedeur Sanders didn't fall to them at number 7, who's going to quarterback for the Jets unless they made a move early in the process? You got to grab a quarterback when you can, because some of these available former starters, like I just mentioned, like a Carson Wentz, chances are they're not waiting till after the draft. Russell Wilson didn't wait after the draft. Even Aaron Rodgers is probably going to the Steelers. He's not waiting until after the draft. So,
wait, Jack. You're saying Aaron Rodgers
is probably going to the Steelers at this point. Either that or he's going to retire.
Yeah.
Unless somehow the Vikings revisit going with Aaron Rodgers. But if the Vikings are going to sign Aaron Rodgers, it probably means J.J. McCarthy isn't quite 100% healthy. And the Vikings have some doubts about McCarthy. But why, if you're a quarterback and you've been a star in the league for a lot of years, would you're an Aaron Rodgers type. And I'm, not for Andy Dalton, it's okay to be a bridge quarterback because you're just lucky to start anywhere. If you're Andy Dalton, you just want to get auditions, to possibly start. But an Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to go somewhere where there's a quarterback in waiting, where the team is going to sit you down first realistic chance they get. And they want to start the quarterback in waiting, start his tenure. You don't want that. Russell Wilson's gone to the Giants, but he doesn't know for sure what the Giants are doing.
Right.
But if the Giants, if I'm wrong, and the Giants do draft Shedeur Sanders, it means Russell Wilson is on the clock. Shedeur Sanders has such a big personality. At most, they could sit Shedeur Sanders 1 year at most. Make him a backup, have him hold a clipboard. But even that's 1 year too much for Shedeur Sanders' type of personality. But let's say that happened, and Russell Wilson had a really good year. And let's say the Giants were 9-8 or something and made the playoffs as a wild card. The Giants probably would want to maybe continue on with Russell Wilson a while longer, and now you're running into a problem.
I mean, I agree with that, but let me just roll back for a second. So it's so many different quarterbacks that are moving around that it's almost like one movement depends on another movement, et cetera, et cetera. I personally believe that, I 100% agree with what you're saying, Jack, which is something we rarely do. But I agree to the T, literally everything about this whole Shedeur thing. New York has to, New York has to win now, or Dayball and his whole little crew are out of there. And some Giants fans have said, yes, they have to win now, but they're also invested in their future. And that's why they feel like Shedeur is going to be the person. But like you said, Russell Wilson is on the clock regardless, because he only has a 1 year contract. Anytime you have a quarterback of that standard, of that stature, I don't want to say he was, but it's really true, because we haven't seen him really have an explosive season like we have in times past. Russell Wilson is one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've seen as well. He's at least in the top 10. I don't want to put him too high.
Wait. Top 10 of what?
Of all good quarterbacks.
Of all time, you're saying?
No, not of all time, just in this era.
In this, as an era?
Within the last 20 years.
Well, yeah. Okay,
So,
I could see that off the top of my head.
Yeah, so not trying to get too tangled up in that. I could see him maybe being a lower part, just off the top of my head, perhaps Russell Wilson in his prime. Yeah, but not getting too wrapped up in that, Jack. Just let me just kind of build on that, because I don't want to get too wrapped up on what his level of play is. I just want to say at least the name. Let's just go with just the name, not necessarily just all the stats. But at one point, he was pretty much sought after. He was very respected on and off the field, and he did a lot of level of play, especially when he was with Seattle. So I'm saying the fact that you have a quarterback, be it Russell Wilson, be it, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers, whoever in their heyday that gets signed, anytime you only give them 1 year, you're only giving them time to prove themselves. You're not investing a lot in them, because you're not 100% confident on what they can bring to your team. Bo brings a good point. He said the Steelers have alluded they're expecting a decision from Rodgers by Sunday. Yeah, I was going to get into that for a second.
Yeah, you're right on what you're saying 100%. It's a 1 year deal. Russell Wilson had no choice but to accept a 1 year deal. He wasn't in big demand. He wasn't in real demand anywhere. And the Giants only are committed to paying him for 1 year, basically. And they're not paying him elite quarterback money either. We understand that. But the same thing happened with Geno Smith at Seattle. If Russell Wilson has a really good year, they'll probably want to move forward with him. I mean, they could draft a Shedeur Sanders, but they really have to be high on him to do that. They really do. And there's no guarantee Shedeur Sanders is going to be available. There's a possibility Cleveland will take him at number 2. And if that happened, we know Cam Ward's going 1 to Tennessee, and if Shador Sanders goes number 2 to Cleveland, the Giants, won't have a choice in the matter. I guess they would draft Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter, one of the two for sure. But some of these teams have a plan to maybe go for Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, or one of the other quarterbacks. That's what I suspect the Giants are going to do. They're going to see maybe if someone like a Will Howard is available late on in the draft, that they're going to draft another quarterback a little lower down, but not at the very beginning. But if you draft a quarterback out of the first round, the incumbent quarterback isn't necessarily on the clock because you haven't quite invested as much, okay? If you draft a quarterback in the second round, it means you probably want him to be a start at some point, but not definitely. But it depends who your starter is. After the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, the Buccaneers drafted a quarterback in the first round, all the way at the end of the first round. But everyone knew he wasn't a threat to Tom Brady at all. It was just, a value pick more or less.
And thanks, Bo, so much for joining us. Bo Crouch, he's hopping on over to his Coast to Coast and Sports Football Talk with Bo. He said great stuff. He's got to hop over to his show. Check him out also on National Streaming Sports, one of our other colleagues on the network. But it's so many moving parts, though, Jack. So many moving parts. And like you said, and that's my theory, Cleveland needs a quarterback now. They're not going to continue to put Deshaun out there, even though they've got him signed to like 2027.
Well, he's injured. He has the Achilles injury. He's not
again.
Season. They got Kenny Pickett from the Eagles. Okay, yeah. And I don't know what Cleveland's plan is. I'm kind of baffled by what's going on. Are they planning on playing Kenny Pickett to start him? Keep in mind, Kenny Pickett had his opportunity at Pittsburgh.
Right.
He was drafted in the first round, and he lost the job there.
Yep.
Then the Eagles gave up a third-round draft choice to get Kenny Pickett to be Jalen Hurts' backup. Yet they've given up on Kenny Pickett after 1 year.
He's a placeholder. And that's what I'm saying. They're going to get Shador unless Shador falls. I don't see if he's still on the clock for the Giants.
But consider this. Dion's made it clear he wants Shador to play for the Giants. That's Shador's place. Dion is psyched, and Shador wants to play for the Giants. He's been praising Coach DeBoer. He hasn't praised Cleveland's Stefanski. And when he reportedly went to be interviewed by the Browns, he was indifferent during the interview. He wasn't enthusiastic. That's what players do when they don't want to get drafted by a team. They're not overly friendly during the interview. They're civil. They're polite, but they're not showing enthusiasm. They have an attitude, I couldn't care less whether I play here. But if they want to play somewhere, they buy in, they're enthusiastic. Thanks, I'll do whatever you say, coach. Yeah, I'm going to this. Now, Cleveland can call Shador's bluff. Basically, if he acts like, I don't want to play for Cleveland, they say, well, we're drafting you anyway. You have two choices. You can sit out and not play. You don't have to play at all. Don't even report here if you don't want to. Or you can play. And what are you going to do? Play lousy? You're not going to play hard. You're not going to be enthusiastic. So to me, I'm all for calling a player's bluff. If you draft Shador Sanders, if you're the Cleveland Browns, he's going to try to perform for you. Absolutely. He's going to try to perform. He won't be happy at first, but he'll do his job. Call his bluff if you really want him.
Yeah, they're saying, I was just looking it up, his daddy has gotten involved again, and he's basically telling the press that Everybody's lying. He's calling them liars about the draft process. However, it's been noted that he's one of the most challenging prospects in the draft cycle for a long time. Like, a lot of people have had complaints about him. They said he may slip from the number 3 to all the way down to 10, even down to the 20s in some mock drafts because of his poor pocket presence and lacking arm strength that people have overlooked because of the name. And basically, his dad is telling people they got to block out the noise. That Shador, according to Dion, has been built for this, addressing pre-draft interview process, saying we've done this, we've got records, we've got tape, we've got factual evidence from him since he was 10 to 12 years old. And so they're saying he's well poised and practiced in front of the cameras. And he said that lies, that basically saying that they're calling out coaches that are responsible for spreading an anonymous report on him, as well as his interview credibility. And just like you said, though, Jack, he's been showing, he's cordial, but he's not acting like, you're glad to be here in certain situations. When he interviewed with the Titans, he had his dad on FaceTime.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I agree with Dion for the most part. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. And I think teams are making a mistake to bypass him, to say, well, he doesn't have arm strength. He played at Colorado with a terrible offensive line. They were awful over there. And he made plays. He's a playmaker. This would be a fun scenario to see Dion's reaction, Sonia. Dion badly wants Shador to be drafted number 3 by the New York Giants. Picture this scenario, which is very possibly going to take place. We know Cam Ward is going number 1 to Tennessee. Number 2, the Browns might very well take the edge rusher from Penn State, Abdul Carter, so they could pair him with Myles Garrett. That's very possible.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
The Giants are going number 3. Shador's there for them to take. And the Giants take Travis Hunter, Dion's boy, at Colorado, who's like another son to Dion. Yep. Not a son, but like another son. He loves Travis Hunter. Yes. What's Dion supposed to say? He can't say the Giants are idiots. They draft, they're taking his guy, Travis Hunter, too, even though he wants him to take Shador.
Yeah.
But if Dion had his druthers, the Giants would take Shador, and New England at number 4 would then take Travis Hunter.
Dion said back in November that he was quoted as saying, if a different team, took Shador, he said he would privately intervene with the potential landing spots for Shador and Hunter, both of them, if he thought the wrong team drafted either player. He would try to get involved to basically sway the process.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to tell you. I think Shador Sanders is the big story of the draft, because I'm projecting, this is my projection that you don't hear elsewhere, the mock drafts. I said it first. Later on, people are going to be saying it the same way with Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh. I said that last season while it was going on. Yep. He's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler next season. It hasn't happened yet, but certainly it's very much in play at this moment. If at number 9, the Saints decide they want to go with Jackson Dart, move them up, not take a chance of losing them, and they're they're enthralled with Jackson Dart's potential, and they take him at number 9, and Shador hasn't been picked, Shador's going to start sliding. Where he might go, I'm not sure exactly after number 9. I haven't analyzed it. But if you look at the teams, not that many teams need quarterbacks right now. I mean, who really needs a quarterback?
Well,
if he falls late in the first round, would the LA Rams, for example, feel Matthew Stafford's an older quarterback, he might only play a year, 2 more? Do they draft Shador? Team, unexpectedly like that, he goes to the Rams, and next year he's on the bench, and who knows?
I mean, the lower you slide, the less the probability that those teams are going to be taking a quarterback, because those teams that are lower in the draft were the better teams this year with the quarterbacks they currently have. I mean, you think about it, especially once you pass the 20 mark.
Well, he
All
goes in the 20s. What would probably happen if he started sliding and all of a sudden he's in the 2022? I think you'd see one of the teams
the playoff
going
team.
in the second round, perhaps. One of the teams is going to move up into the first round. They'll give like an additional second or third round pick to flip flop with another team, to try to trade for him. But
yeah, I don't know. And we're still, holding breath debated. We've got literally a month. This is a month away. This week will be draft week, 4 weeks from today. The other big news is Stephon Diggs signing a $69 million max deal with the New England Patriots.
well, I think 26 million is guaranteed. Only
Yes.
these deals sound all that money, but it's usually the guaranteed money I like to look at too.
69 is the max, though. I like how they put a cap on it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sonia. But the thing about it too, look at what the elite wide receivers are getting, 35 to 40 million. So Stephon Diggs, you could tell coming off an injury, his stock dropped a little, just a little bit. Minnesota to Buffalo to Houston. Now New England is with his fourth team.
That
So
is
Stephon
crazy.
Diggs is probably at best at the tail end of his prime,
Yeah.
which is pretty good if you're getting a good version still of Stephon Diggs. And at least it gives Drake May a number one receiver, quality receiver. Stephon Diggs has been known to be a bit of an eye guy, something he denies, and I don't know him behind the scenes. Maybe he really is a good guy who gets a bad rap. I don't know for sure, but it's the big name receiver that they've been lacking at New England, and now they have a Stephon Diggs, so we'll have the ball thrown to him by Drake May.
I mean, you're gonna be interested to see what that looks like, because like you said, excuse me, this is his fourth 15, one of them. I was shocked. I didn't know they had him back on the trade market. I guess these players kind of move around like right before the draft, and the only thing I could think of is maybe he does well in the Northeast like he did when
he was a free agent. Yeah. I mean, Stephon Diggs is still good enough where he has a lot going for him. And with Mike Grable there, he's going to get a clean start. And like I said, he's a veteran receiver now. But the problem with Stephon Diggs, he's been known to be a little bit of an eye guy. And Drake May's a young quarterback. And it's very important that Drake May controls the huddle. I don't know Drake May's personality, but when the offense takes the field, everyone has to look to Drake May like he's the boss. He's running things. It's the danger with a Stephon Diggs, sometimes you get a personality that's so big. They try to take a leadership role, and it's the quarterback that's really got to be that.
Yeah, and Stephon Diggs was only with Houston for one season and missed significant towards the end of the season time.
He's coming off an injury this year.
ACL tear. And that was his only season. He visited with the Patriots. And even though the Patriots do need a wide receiver, that's a huge need that they have. They are taking a chance on him. Do you think that the Patriots also draft a wide receiver in the draft, Jack?
I don't. They go number 4. I don't think so now that they got Stephon Diggs. Tatoria McMillan was in play. Some people thought he could go number 4, the number 1 receiver projected in the draft. But I think the Patriots, unless Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter is available, I think they go like for an offensive lineman.
Yeah, they've actually talked about McMillan going to the Panthers. I've heard that kind of.
Yeah, which would be very good for Bryce Young. That would be a really good pick. I mean, after losing DJ Moore, that would, fill in, make it up. Yeah.
Definitely still trying to fill that spot in. Huge spot, huge miss for us not having a wide receiver. Who did the Jets draft? What position do you all?
We talked about it, and Aaron Glenn's a defensive coach, so it's so unpredictable. But I really think Shador Sanders will be there, and the Jets are going to.
Really?
Yeah, and that would mean they're really committed to Justin Fields, giving him a full shot. I mean, the jury's still out on Justin Fields. The jury's not out on Russell Wilson. We know what Russell Wilson is at this point, his age going forward. He's kind of like a placeholder in a way, and he could be a placeholder for the Giants for 2-3 years for all we know. It might not just be a 1-year thing with Russell Wilson. We're not sure. But with Justin Fields, this is like the moment of truth. Are you a starting caliber NFL quarterback? Think of Justin Fields as 2 stops. He was the Chicago Bear quarterback for 3 years, even though he didn't start immediately in his first year. But he was with the Bears for 3 years. And the big debate with Justin Fields when he was done with his 3rd year with the Bears was whether the Bears should stick with Justin Fields or draft a quarterback. But what made the decision easy for the Bears is that Justin Fields had only 1 more year left on his rookie contract. And if the Bears would draft a quarterback number 1 overall, Caleb Williams, he would be on the rookie deal, which would help with the cap and all. And the Bears weren't sure about Justin Fields. They weren't sure one way or the other whether he was their starter. He goes to Pittsburgh. They weren't sure about him, but Mike Tomlin preferred to play Russell Wilson over him. But just the idea that Pittsburgh would move on from Justin Fields, Justin Fields could have been the Steeler quarterback this year if Mike Tomlin wanted him back. Think of it, right? He didn't have to go anywhere.
Right.
Russell Wilson be leaving. Mike Tomlin could have said to Justin Fields, this is your team next year. You're the starting quarterback. We want you to stay. Justin Fields would have stayed. That's kind of revealing. Now he's going to the Jets. The Jets still see some potential in him that maybe he could be their guy. Maybe.
Yeah, okay. That's a lot of maybe.
But maybe doesn't mean no.
Right.
So the only way the Jets find out is by giving him a chance to play this year and show what he could do. So if you draft Shador Sanders and Justin Fields plays well, you've wasted a draft pick on Shador Sanders when you could be getting, a really good college player to help.
Yes, I feel like that as well. And I'm just, like I said, it's so many different moving parts, It's like you move one person, then you got to look at everybody. It's almost like a domino effect at this point, Jack. What do you think?
Yeah, it is. But the things that got to get resolved. They're like question marks. Certain teams are committed to players. They're going to stick with those players no matter what. Like let's say Shador Sanders fell to Dallas when they're picking the Cowboys. Why would the Cowboys draft Shador Sanders? They have Dak Prescott. I know backup quarterback's important, but Shador Sanders can't be a backup quarterback. He's either got to be a starter going forward or you don't want him on your team.
Yeah, like the C.J. Stroud situation.
What about the C.J. Stroud?
When C.J. first came in, he had to start off the rip. Like he wasn't a backup. C.J. Stroud went number 2 overall in the draft. You knew he was the Texan quarterback of the future. I'm not a believer in carrying the clipboard unless a guy has limited college experience or has a lower draft pick. If you're drafting a guy high in the first round, you want him to be a start as soon as possible. I know sometimes it benefits to sit him for a little while. The Patriots did it with Drake May, until they got him in during the season. But I'm a big believer you get better by playing, And if a young quarterback is so overwhelmed where you can't play him the first season, he's not probably amounting to anything anyway. I know. Miss Linda pulled in the closing remark we have in the last few seconds. I wasn't going to even bring this up, Miss Linda. The Panthers, after 7 losing freaking seasons, are raising their prices. For
Well,
their
I think we got 1 minute to go. I think we got to close.
I don't want to even talk about that because I'm like, are we getting stadium renovations? Why are we? I'm a season ticket holder. So that's why I'm like, you don't have no business raising no prices because, and we're losing. Like, are we getting like stadium renovations? I don't see where the money's going, Jack.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I guess we're basically wrapping up the show, but Panthers will be a better team next year than they were this year, at least.
Thank you, Jack, for that. Everybody, thanks so much for the likes, love. Have an amazing day. Continue to watch us on Roku channel. Follow us, like, subscribe, and share. This has been the Mac and Jack Show. I've so graciously sat in for Mac today. And Jack, it's been a pleasure as always. Everybody have an amazing day.
Best to Mac. Best to Mac. We always think of Mac.
And join us tonight at 6 p.m. for the National Professional Sports Show with me and all the crew filling in. And everybody have a great day.
You're watching National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV.